Hi guys, it's Nancy and I am very excited to share with you the brand new GIna K white poly-glaze sheets. These are brand new to the US. No one has brought white poly-glaze sheets to the US. These are brand new, and I know some of you guys are asking, what is this and do I need it? And the answer is yes, especially if you are new to foiling or you just got the fuse system. We're going to talk about all of the fun things that you can do with this. So the first thing we're going to need is we are going to need some foil. You might have some thing like this in your stash, which is a lot of leftover or what some of you might call waste foil or leftover foil or opposite foil or just foil pieces, okay? So we're going to foil a couple of pieces. Some of you guys are brand new to foiling. You just got your fuse system. So I'm going to foil some thank yous from the poly-glaze. Thanks. And you guys who got the starter system, we have the poly-glaze Happy Swirls foiling system. So just a reminder, when you get your foiling system, you get a carrier sheet, which is clear like this. You can also buy some extras. If you're using a mink machine, it's the same system. So I'm going to dusty my thanks. I'm going to dusty the back of my foil. This is the Fuse Amazing Amethyst purple foil. We're going to dusty the back of that, right? And we're going to make sure that the whole poly-glaze thanks word is covered up. We don't want any of that exposed. Make sure my foil is cut. I think it is cut wide enough, okay? And I like to push it all the way up to the crease, there. And I'm going to hold that as I feed it through my machine. And I have my fuse on 4. I find 4 is the best setting when I'm using the poly-glaze. And I want to make sure that I feed that through. And same thing for this larger piece of the swirls. Dusty the front of that. I have a bigger piece of foil here. We're going to cut that down. Okay, and then what happens is this leftover piece of foil, some people call it negative foil, some people call it waste foil. I don't like calling it trash foil because it's not trash. We're going to find ways to use this, okay? And also, I do want to mention, if you do hot foiling, in other words, foiling with the Spellbinder's Glimmer system or the Go Press and Foil system or the, what's the other one? Gemini Foil Press system. You can also use these white poly-glaze with that foil, and I'm going to show you how in a second. So again, I have this pressed all the way up to the foil. You'll notice my foil covers my whole poly-glaze sheet. It's very important that that poly-glaze is completely covered in foil. We're going to feed that all the way through. I'm holding that, guiding that all the way through. I want to let this completely cool. Again, my setting is 4. For poly-glaze, I like to use what I call a high 3 or 4. High 3 means my machine has been running at 3 for quite a while. It means it's on a hot 3. But 4 is usually the best setting for the poly-glaze sheets, okay? Now that's feeding through. We want to let this completely cool down. While that is going through, I'm going to grab a piece of this poly-glaze and let me explain what this is. This is white poly-glaze, which means the whole thing has been coated. Now, as you look at this, you're like, oh, this is just a piece of cardstock. It is not a piece of cardstock, okay? It has been specially formulated. The first thing you're going to do, and I'm going to warn you right now, if you pay attention to nothing else I say in this video, is you are going to turn this over and you are going to take a pencil and you are going to mark the back side with an X. Okay, the back side. One side has a little bit of a sheen to it. Can you see the light? Not that side, the back side. See my little pencil marks? Okay, please listen to me and mark the back side with an X. I'm going to cut this down so one side is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then one side I'm just going to cut a little sliver of so that it matches our little thanks. About yay big. And I'm going to show you what can you do and why do you need this. Okay. So poly-glaze is a formulation where this whole thing is covered in the special poly-glaze formula. So very similar to toner sheets where this is solid black. So when I expose this, this is our foiled panel. This is beautiful. This is great. I can put a sentiment on here. It's wonderful. However, now I have this inverted piece of foil, right? Or this leftover piece of foil. Well, what can I do with this? Well, normally we would run this under this. But because this is a dark piece of foil, do you see what happens? That black toner, it loses its effect because it's black. So this white poly-glaze, now I can run this through here and I have white, okay? So it is the opposite of this because it's not black, it's white. So that's a very simple explanation. However, if I don't mark the back side of this, do you know what happens if I run this through the wrong way? This is what happens. So it is very important for you to make sure that you run it through the right way. So make sure you mark the back side. We're going to follow the same process. We're going to dusty. We're going to dusty. Always make sure you are running it through with the shiny side touching the foil. Can you see the light reflecting off of there? So the shiny side touches the foil. Please make a note of that and put a mark on there. I did make a suggestion to GIna. She's going to see if the printing company can print something on the back. Put it up to the fold. I like to put the short side, not the long side, the short side up to the fold. Make sure this entire thing is covered by foil, okay? So that is the first way, is to use your leftover foil, inverse foil, whatever you want to call it. And again, any type of foil will work, whether it's toner foil or hot foil. Any foil will stick to this, okay? So here is our little thanks. You can see that they have foiled perfectly. And then I have this left over. So again, I can now run this through. Now you see how this is left over on here? We don't want to run that through. If I run that through, this is going to stick to my carrier sheet. So how do we resolve that? We cut that off. Do I want to cut that off or do I want to use this piece? This piece is a little too thin. So we're going to use this one. Okay, now the other thing, secret to this, is you want to let this cool down completely before we reveal it. But I'm going to show you something else you guys can do. Okay, so we're going to run that through. We want to let this cool down completely, and when you pull this off, you want to do it in one quick swoop. You want to do it like a Band-Aid. Take it off real quick. Do not do it slow. Okay, so we're going to pull from the corner and just, and now we have two. So we have the original swirls panel, and again, you can ink blend on this one, and then we have the reverse foil, and you cannot ink blend on this. It's super smooth, but that's the poly-glaze. You cannot color over that, okay? You're just gonna, it's white, it is what it is, okay? But it's much better than the black, and now this is what you can throw away, all right? So that is one thing you can do with the poly-glaze. Then we have this, which is our original thanks poly-glaze. Now we have the reverse foil, which we have done on white. So again, we're going to quickly reveal this. Perfectly done. So I can also take the matching dies and I can use the shadow die and I can cut out the foil one or I can cut out the white. So I get two for the price of one now by using the white poly-glaze, okay? But have you ever wanted something to match your foil? Well, this is where poly-glaze can also come in. So this is just the leftover piece of poly-glaze. See the sheen? Remember I had it marked with an X? I had this piece marked with an X. So I'm going to mark this one with an X. All right. Now I can take a piece of foil, And I'm going to cut this down so I do not have any poly-glaze exposed. Never have the poly-glaze exposed. So I'm going to cut this down. And now I can have this die cut, and I will have and you want to foil first, die cut second. So again, dusty because we don't want any lumps or bumps. We don't want any dust. And I was just doing some heat embossing. So I want to make sure all of that dust is off of there. So we're going to make sure this is completely covered before we die cut. So we foil first, die cut second. So now I'm going to run this through. This is just the poly glaze and the foil. And I'm going to bring my GIna K Intri-cut machine in, and we're going to do all of our die cutting. So remember, it's very important that that poly glaze is always covered with foil, or it's going to end up sticking to your carrier sheet like this. We don't want that to happen. But the advantage is you're going to double your foiling, because all of that leftover foil you have from your toner sheets, your poly-glaze sheets, and it doesn't matter which foiling company you use. It doesn't matter if you have other toner sheets from other companies. You can use the poly-glaze sheets with any of them, and you can use it with your leftover hot foiling sheets. So now that this is foil stuck on here, there's a clear piece that's going to come off. See how that peels right off? So now this can be thrown away. But now we're going to bring in our Intri-cut. Let me make sure I have it on die cutting. I do. I can pop this open and lock it in. And I'm bringing my die cutting settings. So now I can just die cut the word thanks. I just want a purple thanks to match everything. Oh, I guess I would use the smaller thanks. So now I can do that. I just put my cutting mat down, my purple foil, my thanks, and I like to put this down on top. Foil first, cut second. Look at. So not only can you use your leftover reverse foil, you can die cut and personalize your own foil die cuts with that. Now you can have any color die cut matching foil you want. So that is another reason that you want these white poly glaze sheets. Okay, besides just using it for your leftover foil. So here is reason number one, which is the simplest explanation, is all of that leftover foil you have, you can now use that. So here's the original poly glaze sheet. Here is the leftover foil. That is what most people use it for. And then for the extra poly glaze die cuts, hey, here's my poly glaze. I can now take this and I can die cut this out. But then I have the leftover foil. Well, I can also now die cut this out. Okay, and the third reason is now I can die cut anything out. I can die cut anything out of foil now with that. So you definitely want to get these. We used to only have the option of black. A lot of companies started coming out with colors. Well, now you have the option of getting white. And so it's a great thing. Definitely stock up. I will have the link down below for you guys. These come in 5 sheets. They're 8.5 by 5.5. Again, remember to mark the back side. You can use these with a laminator, a fuse, or a mink machine. You can use them with any kind of foil. That's the sweet thing about this, is if you guys do any kind of toner foiling from any company, any toner foil design, and any of your hot foil designs. So if you struggle with hot foiling and using the solid hot foil plate, you guys, if you have any leftover foil plate designs, this is all of my foiling, whether it's hot foil, toner foiling, poly-glaze. You guys know I do a lot of foiling for a lot of different companies. I put all of my leftover foils in here. I can grab any of these and I can put them on a poly-glaze sheet and I can use them. I do not have to worry about it. The poly-glaze sheet will run through any mink, any fuse, any laminator, and it will work. Just make sure you're using it on a setting of 4 on a fuse machine. If you're using it on a laminator, make sure your laminator is heated up for at least 30 minutes. But it works great. You can foil, you can die cut, you can use any type of foil. It will work wonderfully. If you have any questions, post them down below. I will put the link down below for you guys on how to shop. Thanks for watching. If you had fun watching this video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more foiling fun. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.